Hey, here we are. How you doing, guys? It's Tuesday night again already. Hey, what is it, like 3 days later? It seems like it. Cheers. Right, the dude. Yeah, I was just goofing off there. I was like, what do I put up? So I just pulled a funny face and yeah, there you go. There you have it. So yeah, I was kind of on the last minute a little bit tonight, but hey, we got there, started on time. So that's pretty good. So now, how many we got? We've got 7 of us in here. Okay. All right. So what's happening, guys? Unfinished project. How you doing, man? Good to have you here. What are you drinking tonight, sir? Paul Funk, welcome along. Old timer F7. Hey man, how you doing? Unfinished project. All the regular offenders are here. Unfinished project. Yeah. Alan Trimble, cheers from Delaware. Bourbon 30, indeed it is, mate. Indeed it is. Keystone Light, living large, huh? Yeah, I've drank a few Keystone Lights in my day. And that's only in the last 15 years since I've been in the States. So, yeah. Whole time always down to talk to you, Kiwi. Well, that's good to hear, mate. Thank you. I appreciate that. Um, 0% liberal. What's new with the shop truck? Actually, not a lot. Just been busy with everyone else's stuff. So, where did we get to? Where did I get to on that? Obviously, you guys saw the windshield install. So that was a nice little improvement. Yeah, threw some speakers in the doors, threw some sound deadening in the doors, and got some, all the window fuzzies and window channels and stuff replaced. So yeah, it's a lot quieter inside now. Yeah, not all rattling and clanging, and the doors are when you shut the doors now, they shut with a nice kind of thunk instead of a clang. So, which is nice. Get your official Kiwi merch. Yep, do that. Get on there and order some. That'd be cool. Yeah. Yeah, we're coming into summer, so you guys are all going to need t-shirts. So get in there and order some while they last. Unfinished project. Money man. What does that mean? But yeah, going back to the shop truck, I have located a Crown Vic suspension for it. I was going to pick it up on Saturday, but the weather here was so atrocious. So much thunder and lightning. It's like, I'm just going to leave it till later. So maybe this weekend or the following. I'm not quite sure yet. John Oskowski, hey Kiwi, how's it going? It's going good. It's going good. How's it going with you, John? So tell me, guys, who's got plans for any big car shows this coming spring? Who's going where and when? It'd be good to know. What do we got here? Jeff, g'day Kiwi. Has there been a time shift? Hooray for your YouTube notifications, mate. I think it's just daylight saving. So now we're still going to air at 7 p.m. Central. So it should be exactly the same, but possibly you're on a different daylight saving mode or not on a daylight saving mode. However, which way it works, Finished project, money lady. I see. Okay, Beagle Bob in the house. Good to see you, man. Old Timer F7, what's coming down the pike on the channel? Let's see. Well, we got the 63 Falcons back in the shop. I've been kind of thrashing on that the last 2 days and just about got that ready to go, that little red one with the seized up motor. We bought a 200 6-cylinder Mustang motor and transmission, threw that in there, and that's been a lot more work than I anticipated, I'll be honest. You'd think they'd be pretty much identical, and yet they're really not. But I think we might have touched on that. I'm not sure whether we touched on that last Tuesday or not. I don't recall. Paul Lawrence did not see what happened to the two-door Falcon. Okay, that's why you haven't seen it. I've kind of part way through the video as I've been working on it the last couple of days. 200 cubic inch Mustang motor going in it, 3-speed auto out of a 68 Mustang is going in. We've installed disc brakes on the front of it. Next, I think all I got to do to get it running tomorrow is put the master cylinder in it and get that plumbed in, and obviously the brakes bled, and run a nice. We put a Petronics ignition in it, so I've got to run a hot wire to the Petronics ignition. You can't use the factory one because it has a resistor in it. So once I get that done, we can see if it doesn't crank up. We put a new fuel tank in it. We put a bunch of stuff on it. So it's coming along nicely. Now the other one that's kind of interesting and it's arriving tomorrow morning is a 70-something F100. I forget what year it is, but it's somewhere pretty close to my one, the shop truck. Except the big difference is it's got a 392 Hemi in it, Chrysler Hemi, like out of a 1958 Imperial. So that's something really different in an F100, and we got to put a 5-speed transmission in it and sort a few other things in it, sort them out for that car. And so that's going to be an interesting one. They should make a couple of good videos, I think. It's going to be very interesting to see how it goes. John Oskowski, Somerset, Kentucky. Granddad's junk, hey Kiwi brother. Yeah, it's an hour earlier. Yeah, it's daylight saving here. That's what that's about. And I don't really want to start at 8 o'clock here because that means I'm up till 10 and not asleep till 11:30, which gets a bit hard for an old timer like me the next day. John Oskowski, they hold a car show cruise every weekend beginning in April. Yeah, it's a bit like that here too. There's just, if you want to go to a car show, just, on any given weekend, you can. Oh, Andy Nickel, just watching the replay of the Crew 9 Dragon splashdown. Hey, it's awesome that they got back, right? That's really good news. So, that is good news. Jeff R. from South Australia, definitely a different time zone. Yes, it is. What's it? South Australia. What's that morning? Wednesday morning there, or like late morning? Not too sure. John Oskowski, it's called Summer Nights. My son and I love going there. Well, that's cool, man. It's great that you and your boy get to go. That's cool. Don Thompson. Hello, Kiwi. Finally made it. Hi, folks. Good to have you here, mate. Good to have you here. Old timer, aside from cars and visits to New Zealand, what do you do for a hobby and or recreation, Kiwi? Hey, that's honestly work. Yeah, it's a little bit heavily loaded towards cars. I'll be honest with you. Cars are the work. Cars are also the hobby. Recreation, we like to travel a little bit, but that's not like a weekly occurrence, obviously. We like to try and travel a little bit, even if it's just a weekend away to some different part of the States. Is always fun. So, but no, with the hours that between the shop and trying to do my own car toys, that's about all the hours there is. Don's Manufacturing, working on Betsy, getting the driveline balanced. Okay. Jeff R, you started at 10:30 a.m. Wednesday. Oh, there's a half hour. Huh. Okay. Salawamanda, Kiwi, what year were you born? 1961. So yeah, 63 going on 64. It's crazy when I say that out loud. It's like, yeah, I doesn't feel that I don't feel that old, but the numbers don't lie, unfortunately. Yeah. John Oskowski, how's large Marge coming along? Not at all, mate. To be honest, not at all. Just too much going on at work. And throwing a bit of time, whatever little bit of spare time there is, at the shop track, just trying to get that to a driver. Like a well, close to a daily driver. Zolly's Auto Clinic. Ever thought about model trains as a hobby? No. I mean, no. That doesn't excite me. That the model trains. If I had more time, I would. What would I do? Good point. I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago. I'd love to try and build a boat. No, that probably sounds a bit out there, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of got to be making something. That's just me. That's who I am. I need to keep my hands busy to be creating something. So model train, I guess you can make, like a huge, like a lot of setting and stuff like that, but you pretty much just buy the model trains and stick them on the track and go, don't you? Sallow Amanda, you're in great shape. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, it's a little heavier around the middle than I was 20 years ago, but it's not too bad. The dude, Spring Carlisle will be a good little vacation. Even Mrs. Kiwi agrees. That's true. She does too. She does. Yeah, that's a definite possibility. We've what's the date? And I think you probably already told me this once, and I can look it up. But if it's on the top of it's a real easy answer. What date is that Carlisle event? What's on the to be? Satchel Page said, "How old would you be if you didn't know how old you were?" Hey, that's a really good question. That's good. I like that. How old would I be if I wasn't? Hmm. Hmm. Some days I feel 63, and other days I feel about 50. So I'm going to have a two-part answer on that one. Wheelie King 71. You got 10 years on me, Kiwi. I feel like I'm about 15 farther along than I am, though. Damn dirt bikes. Yeah, well, you pay heavily for dirt bikes. That's why I've always stayed away from bikes. Um, I couldn't. I would have enjoyed doing it, but I'm glad I didn't. It's too hard on the body. Beagle Bob, building a boat is just like a long journey. I bite it one bite at a time. Yeah, it's. I'd need to be doing a lot less with cars before I started trying to build a boat. So who knows? It might happen. It might not. It's not one of those things that has to be. It would just be kind of fun. I think, kind of just really different, but still making stuff. Josh Homan, good to be here. Good to have you here, man. Solly's Auto Clinic. The trains are more fun the more drunk you are. Well, yeah, I guess that sounds about right. Yeah. What kind of boat would you build? It would be. I really love those old mahogany boats. So some kind of like big, I don't know, 20 odd foot runabout type thing, and preferably in a wooden boat. And yeah, I like that old style, that barrel back, that rounded back on them, rather than the V-shaped transom on them, that kind of curved, that rolled over back on them. That old kind of 50s look, which, is hardly surprising given I like 50s cars as well. So, yeah. Volfly had to fix the corner window and regulator on a 70 Cutlass convertible. Took longer than expected because I've forgotten how I used to do them. Now that I'm tired, I remember now. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the other thing coming up at the shop is that the Pontiac, the GDO, all the brakes have arrived for it. So they're sitting in boxes. I just got to get that Falcon off the rack and get the GDO up there and get the brakes and the Detroit Speed suspension on it. And I'm hoping the suspension will be all arriving tomorrow or the next day. So, in theory, if I can get the camera pointed in the right direction, there should be some videos coming up. Should be a few coming up. So, yeah, we got the GDO, we got this Hemi Mopar powered F100. We got the Falcon. That we're going to do a wrap up video on that and get it driving down the road back to the owner. So yeah, and that should all be happening in the next week. So, there's 3 videos straight off the top of my head. Jeff R. No, I'm on Old Fashions again tonight. Yeah, the little additives that you put in an Old Fashioned just make it takes a bit of the harshness out of some of the bourbons. Man, I had some bourbon on Saturday night. Ooh, Sunday wasn't good. I have to tell you, Sunday I was feeling ill. Don't know why, but yeah, Sunday was a little rough. But Saturday night was a lot of fun. We were out partying with Tommy Boschers. It was his 25th wedding anniversary. So we were partying with him, and we had a little sample of a bottle of his very expensive, very high octane bourbon. It was like 138% proof. So it was rocket fuel. It was really nice, but you had to sip it slow. But yeah, it didn't start long. Didn't take long before it was giving you quite a bit of feedback. It was strong, but nice. It was. I've not had bourbon quite like that. It was. You really did have to drink like really small sips and actually just like drink it slowly to actually appreciate it. And it was nice. It was really nice. The dude, April 23, 27. I'll be there the 24th. Okay. Gosh, that's not far away, is it? It's a month away. I have to see. I have to talk with Mrs. Kiwi and see. Yeah, I need to do more of that and just get out, because if I don't go, I'll just be there all day at the shop all day Saturday doing something, and need to kind of get out and have a little bit more fun, a little bit more smile time, rather than work time. Orlando Pockets, it's still light out and Kiwi is live. Hope you're having a great week. I am having a great week. I had a good week, actually. Got quite a bit done. So hopefully going to knock out this Falcon tomorrow and get started on the GDO and have a look around this Hemi-powered F100. I'm quite interested to see what this thing is going to look like. It's either going to be, I think it's going to go one of two ways. Either it's going to be like really quite special, or it's going to be a thrown together like, I'm not sure. I haven't seen it, haven't seen pictures of it, haven't seen anything. And, like listening to the guy describe it, it sounds like it's going to be fairly cool, but that doesn't always pan out that way. But we'll find out in the morning, I guess. What do we got? Wheeler King. I've got 2 ounces myself. My mind is still 30. My body feels over 60. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, I sometimes look in the mirror in the morning and think, "God, what happened to you? Like where did that time go?" But yeah. Don's Manufactory. How close to Route 66 are you? Fairly close. Yeah, it's not that far. We've got to go a little bit north to catch it, but yeah, not that far away, really. Couple of hours, I think. Beagle Bob, have you thought about? I thought of building a house for yourself. I've done it, mate, a couple of times actually. Not built it, completely, but I've done a lot of the work on a couple of them. So, like even down to electrical wiring and stuff. Um, so, yeah, yeah, done my fill of that. So, Jeff R, where would you use your hand built boat around your park? There's quite a few lakes around Nashville and rivers. So, there's plenty of places you could use it. And it's probably not, it wouldn't be an ocean boat. I don't think it'd be like a lake slash river boat. Um, Timothy Allen, hey Kiwi, not that you can control. Okay, I'm guessing you cut yourself off there. Um, taking a poncho, Kiwi. My last comment was sent before I was done. Okay. Uh, yep, I'll be. Yeah, the Pontiac's there, mate. It's just waiting. Sixth Street Garage. How you doing, man? Good to have you here. 130 proof makes my clothes fall off. Yeah. Oh dear. I thought it was tequila that did that. Isn't that how the song goes? Sixth Street Garage. I did not think Tommy was that old. No, he's not. He's a lot younger than me. I think he's about 40. So yeah, I got 20 years on him. But yeah, we're good friends. We have a lot of laughs. Yeah. Um, Sometimes he might be laughing at me, I think, but that's okay. I can handle that. Um, I think he was laughing at me a bit on Saturday night, to be honest with you. Volfly, I'd like to build an Asgardian skiff with hydroplane skis to make it look like it flies. Basically, a Nordic skiff with vertical decorative bladed fans that fold away when parked. I dream big. Wow, that's a big dream. I'm trying to imagine what that would look like. Um, a Nordic skiff. Huh. I'd have to go Googling that kind of thing. Oh, Wheeler King. I'm really digging. The Quaker State oil can. I can remember stabbing the funnel in those cans at my dad's garage when I was a kid in the early '80s. Yeah, yeah. Honestly, this will kind of burst your bubble a little bit, but it's a little Chinese knockoff. I think it's Chinese. Yeah, made in China, mate. But it's kind of cool. Cool decoration. The glasses, the old 7 Up and old school Pepsis are the real deal, though. Um, Orlando pockets. I miss the days of funnel stabbing. The bubble, no, the bubble has burst now. Yeah, sorry, man. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. But yeah, it is. It is. I've got a few cans like that at work. Which are a bit weepy, and I can't bring them home. They're kind of cool to have sitting around the shop. Just decorations, but yeah, they just weep a little bit, and that wouldn't go down well at the house with Mrs. Kiwi. Yeah, or me, to be fair. So, what are the car shows are you guys planning on? Or what are the projects are you planning on getting finished and getting out and about this summer? if it makes anyone feel better, I some two-stroke all with my gas today, and it smelled great. It does. It does. It does. Improve the smell for sure. What's on the t-shirt? It is still plays with box. Little play on words there. I think Mrs. Kiwi got me that one. So yeah, very slimming too. There you go. Vilefly, search Asgardian skiff for a picture. Third picture that comes up. Okay. I have to do that. Orlando, I'm getting the dirt bikes out for the year. Okay, cool. Chief, child reference. What's on it to be? Hey, you got an 8-pack. That's right. I have got. Yeah, it's there's a 6-pack hiding under there, but it's looking more like an 8-pack. That's middle-aged spread for you. Beagle Bob, yes, you did, and I saw the email a couple of days later, and I've just got so caught up at work. I'm really sorry. My apologies. I've got to get a number and send it to you. I've got them there. Like, consider them yours. I just gotta, I've got to get onto that one along with a few other things and get down to the post office. I've got some other stuff I've got to send to another guy, and so I will get onto that in the next couple of days, but I'll get them coming your way, bud. Okay, I promise. All right. Now, don't forget to hit the like button, guys, because that helps the old algorithm. And hit the like button. That always helps. Okay. Oh, good. Sounds good. I'm in no hurry. Awesome. It's probably just as well knowing me. But no, I will get onto that before the end of the week. Need to work on his woodworking skills. Yeah, well, I don't really have much in the way of woodworking skills, but I figure, I should be able to figure it out. Working on metal, working on body filler, shaping stuff. It's just a different medium, really. You can't weld up your mistakes with wood, of course, so that's got to be a little bit more careful, I guess. Beagle Bob, I got so confident in being close to getting my Mustang running, I put fresh gas in it. Nice. Well done. Well done. Orlando Pockets, did you fix the radio? It's all priorities, isn't it? Yeah, you got to the radio before you actually fix get the car running. That's funny. That's funny. Oh, someone's phone's buzzing. No, CJ Pony Parts trying to sell me more shit. They can go away. Very cool. Right, what else is going on? Orlando Pot. That's when you know you're close to running if the radio works. Max Level. Hello, Kiwi. Lowest gas price in Boston this week is $2.59 a gallon. How about you? We're a little higher than that around here, around Franklin, where I am. It's kind of like more like $2.79, maybe $2.59. No, I don't. I mean, further, like about half an hour south of here, the gas prices drop, and they're around that. I actually saw it at the weekend when we were down at Tommy's place. The cheapest we saw it down that way was $2.39 a gallon, but around here in Franklin, it's kind of more $2.79. So. Beagle Bob, I pulled it out and put it in my 7.3 Power Stroke. In your Mustang? You serious? You put a 7.3 Power Stroke in a Mustang? That's that's pretty out there, but cool. The dude, CJ Pony Parts headquarters, only about half an hour from Carlisle. Yeah, I didn't realise that. Okay, not that I'd go there to be honest. I don't usually deal with CJ Pony Parts, but they've got my number somewhere, and they've been hammering me with text messages. Volfly, another scheme I probably will never complete is a mini windmill homes for that quaint look. Probably should install a brake for them. Mini windmill homes. That'd be there. That's an interesting one. Orlando Beagle Bob, nice. Yeah, power stroke and a Mustang. That's wild. Yeah, that's very cool. Paul Funk, 269 in Colorado. Yeah. Oh, Danny Boyd, how are you, man? Good to have you here. Oh, I see. Beagle Bob. No, I pulled the radio from the Mustang and put it in my truck. Ah. Max Deet, are Ford FE engines known for poor fuel distribution? Okay. Just to clarify, I'm not quite sure what you're meaning by fuel distribution. You meaning like gas mileage, or actually the way the intake and fuel air charge make their way around the intake? I'm not quite sure what you're asking there. So if you can just clarify that a little, I'll try and answer you. Jeff R., although you promote your business as Classic and Customs, do you get asked to do late model repairs through word of mouth, etc.? Yes, I do. And it's surprising. A lot of people, it's becoming a little blurry as to what's an old car anymore, because most places don't want to work on anything older than 20 years old, which means you're you're 5 years into the 2000s. So people with the 90s cars really do figure they've got an old car. But for me, that's not that old. And it's computerized, and I just have never got on that computer highway, as it were, with cars. So, and I just, I've got so much to do. I don't want to be working on later model stuff, or I don't know, what do you call it? Middle-aged, 30-year-old stuff? Middle-aged? That's what they call us at 30, isn't it? We're all middle-aged at 30 years old. So, yeah, I want to work on old cars, not middle-aged cars. But, yeah, I'm getting asked more and more, and particularly getting asked a lot of, like to do panel repairs, bodywork repairs, rust repairs, that kind of thing, on stuff that the body shops won't do because they're over 20 years old. Mopar Man 78. It's going to take a little bit for the prices to come down, especially the eggs. When they killed off over 1 billion chickens, it's hard to get back in the action. Yeah, it's eggs have gotten expensive for sure. I didn't realize they killed that many chickens. 1 billion. Wow, that's a lot. Granddad's junk. I've got half of one head done on the poly. Took the ridge out of the port by the valves. Okay, man, I really have to get on and look at your videos. Granddad, I really got to do that. And I said that last week, didn't I? And I haven't done it. Yeah. Beagle Bob, I put a 302 into a mod motor Mustang and have been very slow because I wanted to use a Mega Squirt ECU, but not just buy the harness kit. Okay. Haven't worked a lot with fuel injection, to be honest, but the Mega Squirt I've heard of, but I really don't know much about it. Andy Nichols, soon as the snow is gone and it warms up, I have to tackle a melon-sized hole in my bumper cover, courtesy of a huge Canada goose. Oh no, melon-sized hole! Wow, I bet it didn't do the goose a lot of good either. Canadian Shield 9mm. Hi, Kiwi. Am I allowed to send you pics of the 1/60th diorama I made of your garage sometime? I'm almost done it. Mate, I would love to see that. That would be awesome. Absolutely. Send me some pictures. Anytime, man. I'll even put my email in here for you because I would love to see that. Bear with me while one finger type, guys. There you go. Here's my email. Send away, brother. Send away. Wayne Pirahi, 259 a gallon by Jingo's 260 a litre quart here in Rotorua. I was okay. I saw the name Pirahi, and I thought that sounds like a Kiwi name, and it is. Yeah, 260 a litre. Wow. Yeah, which is about a quart. You're exactly right. So yeah, 4 times that. So it's over $10 a gallon in American terms, which is a lot. Max D, my bad. Some cylinders running richer than others. Why would that be? Are any of them running, like well, or are they all rich and some are just, even more rich? They do tend to be heavy on gas, those FEs, and they've got very long intake tracks, which shouldn't really make them run rich. So you going off plug color, I'm guessing. What color your plugs are burning. If you're doing much round tail running, you're always going to have bad looking plugs. Really, to do a good plug read, you need to go kind of quite hard in it, like interstate speeds. Turn the engine off and pull the plugs. What happens? A lot of people do get caught on. They'll give the engine a decent run, and then they're 5-10 minutes getting back to their house or shop or whatever, and then pull the plugs, and it gives you a false reading because you've got all that stop-start running. From your kind of power run to when you actually get to take the plugs out. So really, yeah, you have to shut the engine off, coast to a halt, pull the plugs there and then on the side of wherever you are, and to get a true reading on the plugs. Andy Nickel, no, he flew off to goose heaven. I'll bet he did. Mopar Man 78. That just goes to show how much of a wimp some of the auto shops have become. Yeah, it's yeah, I agree. Mopar Man, I'd rather fix an old vehicle with a basic wiring harness than a vat of spaghetti wires under the hood of a new vehicle. You and me both. But honestly, I'm absolutely there with you. Absolutely there with you. Andy Nickel and the car behind me had a goose dinner. Oh dear, that doesn't sound good at all for the goose. Glenn, g'day Kiwi from the Sunshine Coast, Queensland. Love the videos, mate. Well, good, awesome. Thank you. I'm really glad you're enjoying them. Got quite a few viewers, quite a lot, and it's quite gratifying for me. Quite a lot of viewers in New Zealand and Australia, and it's cool. It's very cool. Mopar Man, new car equals sensor for a sensor for a sensor. No thanks. Yeah. Straight bullet, is the compression low in those cylinders that are running rich? That's a possibility for sure. It could be. Obviously, a compression test will answer that. But yeah, probably need to figure out how coming to the conclusion that some cylinders are running richer than others. Yeah, like I said, it can be tricky reading plugs if you do any slow speed running between before reading the plugs. Firefly. It's my job to handle the vats of spaghetti because I'm built for trouble, because I'm geared for it. There you go. Well, it's a good job somebody knows how to do it, because it's not me. But the guys that are good at it are good at it. It's a complete skill set all of its own. And the guys that are good at that stuff, it's quite awesome to kind of watch them in action. They possibly think the same of guys like us, that know that old stuff, know how to make a carburetor work. But I know some of the young guys, like, just carburetors are just completely beyond them. They can't figure out, how or why you would ever have a carburetor. But different world these days. And so, what else is going on, guys? What else is going on? All right. So none of the Mopar boys have been asking about this. I thought they would. Maybe you haven't seen. We haven't got close enough with this one. Scott Jeffrey on. This is quite an old diecast, this one. I'm trying to remember the year. Not sure if I can read it. I think it's like a 2000 or so. It doesn't have the year on it. It's but yeah, it's quite a little lift off front. Yep, get it in front of the camera. That would help, wouldn't it? There you go. So yeah, quite well detailed little diecast. But not a very common one, being the Mopar, but kind of cool. Hopefully you Mopar boys will like that. Now, what else is going on? Max Deet. Okay, thanks. Yes, going off what the plugs look like. Some are carbon dark, other porcelain is still white. Now, that's, okay. You would really want to give it a compression test just to make sure that's not an issue. Just so you can rule that out. I'm not saying that I think it's got bad compression, but as long as that question's hanging around, it kind of makes you wonder. I would, compression test it, and see if you can do a read of the plugs. After a strong run, a fairly demanding run, and see if you can shut it down. And even if you just pull the plugs that are typically, quite black, give it a hard run, shut it down, pull those plugs out, even one or two of them, and see if they look different after a kind of wide open throttle or, 2/3 throttle run, like get the engine working, and see if your colours are changing when you do that. It'd be something I'd be trying. What carburetor have you got on it, bud? Beagle Bob, are you going to stay put when you retire, or will you work until you die? Yeah, that's an interesting one. The wife and I would really like to travel quite a bit, and when I retire. But yeah, it's going to be hard to walk away from the work / hobby. It's just tinkering with old cars is it's kind of like breathing. It's pretty much all I've ever done. So. But there's a lot of places in the world we would like to go and see and explore and, see what the car culture is like there. So, will we stay? I don't know. Will you stay put when you retire? Not sure. I think it's probably on the cards we'll end up back in New Zealand at some point, and a lot of that probably has to do with the cost of medical here in this country is pretty outrageous. Whereas it's all kind of paid for by the government in New Zealand, and being Kiwis, we can go back and take advantage of that. So, will I kind of end my days in the States? Probably not. But I'm definitely going to be here for a bit longer yet, boys. Don't worry about that. One of these, Long Island Mopars, one of these days I'll get back around to Dad's 66 Coronet. Well, that'd be cool. Yeah, well, one of these days, mate. Don't leave it too long. Time gets away on you. Trust me, I know. Volfly picked up a neat thing to mess with, a centrifugal oil filter. The housing has an internal hollow rotor that spins on a standpipe and has jets at the bottom to cause it to spin. I'm trying to even imagine what that looks like. Interesting. Huh. And what makes it spin? Or is it the pressure that makes it spin? Curious. Stray Bullet, what do you think about the recent activity with the EPA? Well, okay. Which activity is that, bud? You have to enlighten me. What's the EPA been up to? I don't watch a lot of the news. I'll be honest with you. I don't really keep up with current affairs that much. Yeah, I kind of, yeah, the news is too much bad news, and I tend to not watch it possibly as much as I should. I know Mrs. Kiwi kind of gets at me for not being up with the times, but Volfly, you simply clean out the rotor in a centrifugal oil filter, and you're ready to go. Huh. Paul Funk, I was an Alan Johnson fan, won the Mile High National a few times. He is a very, very, very clever man, Alan Johnson. Very clever man. Simply that is. 6th Street Garage. Have you talked to Dr. Art since he started his new job? Texted him today, and yeah, it sounds like he's working hard. He said it's what did he say? It's going to be a long climb. It sounds like they've thrown him in the trying to repeat the words exactly he said, but it sounds like he's they've thrown him in the deep end a little bit, and he's got a bit to do to get. And I said to him, that's why they're paying you the big bucks, brother. They're expecting him to work for that salary. So they've thrown him in the deep end, and he's got to go. Stray Bullet, are those cylinders even firing? Yeah, they'd be very wet if they weren't firing. That's the other thing. How many of those plugs that are dark? How many of them are? Like, is it one or two, or is it 6 or 7, or like how many are black versus how many are clean? Granddad's Junk. Scott and Daryl got first and second in pro stock back in the late 80s when Mopar ruled. They had a new dish smoked Ford and Chev. Dish smoked? Okay, not sure what that means. Long Island Mopars. I remember the days of leaded fuel, and Dad would marvel at the white residue in the exhaust pipe of the Coronet. That was his cue that he had it perfectly tuned. Yes, a clean running leaded engine would have very very white tailpipes. Not so much since they took the lead away though. Volfly, getting the oil drain back on the centrifugal filter attached to the engine will look ugly unless I do something clever. Yeah. That's interesting. Stray bullet, too lean, Long Island. No, in the later days, just a long, a half-hour run, kind of interstate speeds, you'd have very white tailpipes. That was a leaded fuel thing, and it did mean they were running pretty good. And obviously, at light throttle, cruising, you're going to run fairly lean, um, as opposed to wide open throttle. So yeah, they would grey up nicely. Most engines would run pretty grey, on a light throttle cruise. Max Teat, okay, I will do those tests. Thank you. Carver's a Holly 4150. Okay, well, you got lots of jetting options on that. So, you can start trimming down the main jets a little, to see if you can't, like improve that fuel mixture. Once you've defined, definitely that it's that's what the issue is. Right, Handy Nickel, my 04 2.7 litre is still running on original plugs. Wow. My mechanic says at 60,000, 60k kilometers, 60,000 kilometers, they're still good. Yeah, 60,000 kilometers, they should still be good. You should be able to get 100 k's out of them. Volfly, Hollies can blow the diaphragm out on the power valve, causing flooding. Yeah, it can. They can do that, but you typically know when that's happened. Like it's pretty obvious. Josh Homan. Trump firing a bunch of them. Okay. Well, the EPA, yeah, I mean, I'm not upset about that. If he's firing a bunch of the EPA, no, I'm not upset about that. They're over the top. It's not a bad thing to be trying to protect your environment. The Environmental Protection Agency, but they've got a bit carried away with it. Like they're it's too much, in my opinion. Volfly, if your Holly runs rich all the time, suspect the power valve. Backfires are bad on them. Yeah, but he's getting some plugs that are running clean. So, power valve's going to be, like super rich. Every, bad power valve is going to be super rich across all 8 cylinders. So, and they run pretty darn poorly when they have torn up a power valve. Stray bullet. I changed the spark plugs on my Mustang at 100,000 miles. Yeah. They last a long time nowadays. Yeah, they do. It's nothing like. It's funny, isn't it? Like the stuff that doesn't last a long time, but spark plugs, they're just longer and longer. Imagine trying to run spark plugs in the 70s for 100,000 miles. That it just wouldn't have happened. You could not have done it. But yeah, the way they're making them now, the ignition systems, how lean, how clean the engines are running, the plugs just last and last and last. I remember we did the plugs. The wife's car at the time, it was this Lincoln MKS, and that hit the 100,000 mile mark, and it was scheduled to have new plugs put in it at that point, which 3 of them are a piece of cake to change, and the 3 back ones, because it's a front wheel drive V6. So the 3 back ones are just a bear to get at. But we changed the plugs and really didn't make any difference to it. It wasn't misfiring at 100,000 miles, and put new plugs in it, and it was kind of same old, same old. Who's to say how long they would have run for before they actually started to give you trouble? I don't know. Long Island Mopars, 131,000 miles on the original plugs, and my Acura runs perfect. Yeah, it's Yeah, honestly, I'm not shocked by that. Like, it's insane how long the plugs will go for these days, and yeah, that's what I'm putting it down to, is just how clean the engines run now. So they're not getting fouled up, they're not getting crud building up on them because the engines run so clean. Um, which that's how they're getting the miles per gallon out of them that they are, is by every little bit of fuel that goes into a modern engine gets burnt up and sent out the tailpipe. Andy nickel looks like I got to strip the whole top end to get to the plugs. It can be a chore. No doubt. It's a good thing they do last as long as they do. You wouldn't want to be doing it every 5 or 10,000 miles, would you? That would not be good. So yeah, it's so one of those plugs are hard to get out, man. If you got to do it once every 100,000 miles, you can't complain too much, really. Mm-hmm. So, what did you guys think of that Challenger video, the TA Challenger video? It's I got a bit of stick about the camera work, which Dr. Art, we got to hang the blame for that one on Dr. Art, because he was holding the camera, and he kind of aimed it at the dashboard quite a lot, and I saw it, and I really thought seriously about refilming it. But I just didn't want to thrash the thing around the block again, like it's that car that, like, just, yeah, I wanted to know that it ran, it revved out, and then that's it. That's, just like, okay, put it away, send it home. I just, it's pretty rare car, and I just didn't need any other drama with it. So yeah, it was. Yeah, the camera work was a bit subpar, but hopefully you guys got the idea of it. Valve fly. The only other thing I can think of for uneven fuel distribution is valve wear, causing the lifter preload to slightly hold some valves open. A vacuum gauge reading should solve that mystery. Yep, that would be a way of that can tell you some stories for sure. Yep. Long Island Mopars. Any video on an old Challenger is a good video. There you go. That's good. Beagle Bob. It sounded real good. It really did. It really did. It did sound good. Andy Nickel. Wow. LOL. Well, Dr. Art was trying. Yeah, he was. He was. And he was making a couple of little noises when the thing was starting to wind out in third gear. He was making a couple of noises from the other side of the car there, so I think he was getting a little stressed. Alan Shildroth, did you see his video on it? Yeah, I did. He was actually. This is where it went wrong, really, because he was holding two cameras at the same time. So I think he was looking at his one and not mine, and just assumed my camera was getting the same picture as his. So the main thing was just to see that. For me, the main thing was that it was completed, it ran well, and that was kind of the end of that story. So. Dude, maybe Dr. Art is trying to sabotage your videos by order of Baldo. No, I mean that's funny, but no. Dr. Art's a good dude. He wouldn't do that. And no, I don't think so. Granny's junk. That was a super cool Dodge. I bet that nearly converted your. I bet that nearly converted you. The camera work was good, nothing wrong with it. Okay, well, that's cool. Well, glad you enjoyed it. Mate, it doesn't take a lot to convert me to a Mopar because I'm kind of already there. my favourite cars are Mopars. Especially late 50s Mopars, and the other one of my other favourite cars is kind of like a '69 GTX. Would be a car I'd really like to own. They just have for me, they're just a really mean, aggressive, muscle car stance to them. They look really cool. You kind of can't do one wrong, really. One of those things. Valve-fly, the downfalls of a non-adjustable valve train. There you go. Jeff R. Maybe lead in the fuel, although beneficial to valve seats, etc., may have also caused plugs to wear foul. Probably, yeah, probably so. Yeah. It was definitely beneficial to valve seats and guides. But yeah, I'm sure that would have caused some build-up and fouling. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just that the modern engines are so clean, and I guess part of being clean is not having lead in it. So here's a question for you guys. Are there any videos you would like to see me do? It's given the kind of mix that I've thrown at you guys over the last couple of years, is there anything that you'd want to see that I haven't done, or maybe haven't done enough of, or a little bit of feedback from you guys would be awesome on that. It would, because sometimes you just wonder, sometimes you think, no one's going to be interested in that, and it turns out they are, and sometimes you think people will love this, and they don't. So it can be hard getting it just right, Valfly, be right back. Dinner time. There you go. Fair enough. Don't take too long eating, mate. Don't be having a 4-course meal. We'll be gone. Yeah. So give me some ideas on what you want to see. 1930 Plymouth would be cool. I love them. Yeah, I don't know a lot about that era of any of the cars, really, to be honest, the 30s. Obviously 32 Ford and stuff like that. Yeah. Good stuff. Hi. Any tips on getting a stubborn axle repair bearing out? It's only been in for less than 100 miles. I've tried CRC and have been giving it a crack with a 3-prong puller every few days. A stubborn axle repair bearing out. I'm trying to figure out just quite what you mean there, good stuff. So, are you talking like a rear-wheel drive axle bearing that's on a half shaft, or what sort of vehicle are you talking about, or is it like a front hub assembly? A little more info, good stuff. Paul Lawrence, Holden Kingswood 308. Yeah, that's a tough one. That is a tough one to try and do here. Good stuff. I enjoyed the garage tours in New Zealand. Yeah, I did too. And a lot of viewers did. Those videos did well. They did well. So that was pleasing. End of time. I get to test out my 79 Zephyr 5-litre 5-speed this weekend. Factory black with red interior. 79 Zephyr. 79. So that's like a Mark IV Zephyr? And has the 5.0 been added? Because that would have been, unless it's like like assembled in South Africa or something like that. But say 5-litre 5-speed, that wouldn't have 79 Zephyr would not have come out with that. Tell us about that car. Josh Homan, hack repair restoration jobs. Yep. Yeah, it's kind of been a little lean on those. Haven't had a lot of that stuff through of late, which is, bad for viewership, but good. The reality is it's kind of good. Hopefully the amount of that stuff making it big on YouTube is made people stop doing it a little bit, maybe, hopefully. Be nice to think that's what was going on, but they haven't been coming across my path of late. Not sure where they've gone. Although in saying that, I do have a guy who's supposed to be bringing me a fastback Mustang in the next month or so. That apparently has been. He says it's the worst hack job he's ever seen on anybody's YouTube channel. And he sent me some pictures, and he might be right. So if it shows up, that'll be a big video for sure, because from what I've seen in the pictures, it's pretty bad. And it was a so-called pro shop that did it. So, yeah. Time will tell, but keep an eye open for that one in the next month to 2 months, I would say. Jeff, making stuff fit where it was never intended to is always interesting. For example, putting the 5-speed behind a 50s Hemi is going to be good. Yeah, I think so. Apparently he's got the bell housing or a bell housing adapter for it, and he's got the crankshaft adapter because the original 392 Hemi has bolt holes in the back of the crank. It doesn't have threaded holes there. They're quite different. So the flex plate / flywheel is actually held on with nuts and bolts. So they have apparently he's got an adapter for it that bolts to the crank, and then your flywheel, like nuts and bolts to the crank, and then the flywheel has bolts that bolt into threaded holes in the adapter. So it's going to be interesting to see how all that's been done, how the bell housing's done, if the bell housing is anywhere near lined up with the crank, which is really critical on these 5-speeds. They have to be within 5 thou. Center line to center line has to be within 5 thousandths of each other. And if you don't do that, you're going to have issues. Didn't have to worry about that with the old 4-speed Muncies and stuff like that. And that was mainly because the input, if you ever grabbed hold of the input shaft in the front, like reached into the front of a Muncie that's sitting on the ground, you can wiggle that input shaft side to side, like at least a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch. They'll wiggle side to side. So they didn't, the crank and the input shaft in the transmission did not have to be perfectly lined up. You could actually have, trying to get this on camera, you could actually have, I'm only exaggerating, you could have it like offset, and that the input shaft would kind of do a little Z, and it didn't matter. But the modern 5-speeds are all taper roller bearings, and it has to be straight. The transmissions are preloaded. That's how they're getting them to handle the sort of horsepower they do now. And if they're loaded, if that input shaft is loaded to one side, it wears them out and avoids your warranty. They'll take one. Now, if you have a warranty issue with a new TKX or T56 or whatever, it goes back to the factory under warranty. They will know straight away whether that transmission's been correctly lined up or not. So I know a lot of shops don't bother doing it. They're like, it's close enough. It's really not. They can be. I've had them 30 thousandths off out of line with each other, which is, the Tremix won't live with that. They just won't. Andy Nickel, my favourite car is still the 55 Chevy. My first car when I was 16 was a hand-me-down. Was a hand-me-down 55 Chevy 235. It went from dad to mum to older brothers, pretty much done when I got it. Yeah, I'll bet it was. I'll bet it was 235. So that was a 6-cylinder, right? Good stuff. 79 Trans Am. Yeah, those are nice. Granddad's Junk. The last Mark II was a 70. Last Mark IV was a 72. So what's a 79 Zephyr then? What does that look like? Or is that like a different market, like a different car altogether from a different market, like I was saying, like South Africa or something weird like that, or Mexico? They did make some odd stuff in a couple of different countries. So yeah, 79 Zephyr I'm not familiar with, unless it was a Lincoln. Did they make a Lincoln Zephyr of some description in that late end of the 70s? Like a Lincoln Zephyr as opposed to a Ford Zephyr? Long Island Mopars. That's funny. Today, one of my buddies at work gave me a framed artist picture of a 69 GDX racing a 68 Barracuda in front of an In-N-Out burger joint. That's a cool picture. That's a cool picture. But yeah, I'd have to go with the 69 GDX over the Barracuda. I really would. Yeah, that's on a fairly short list of cars I would love to own. One of those GDXs. They're just, with the right wheel and tire combo on them, they look just badass, in my opinion. That's the best term I've got for it. Long Island Mopars video idea. Kiwi's honest car reviews. Okay, interesting. Elaborate for me a little bit. You mean on just a particular brand of car in general, what I think of it, or just an individual car, just one that comes through the shop? I'm guessing you mean like a generic, like a 69 GDX. What do I think of those as a car, or a 57 Chevy, or whatever it might be? Is that what you're meaning? Granddad's Junk, end of time may be referring to a Lincoln Zephyr. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. End of time, like a Fairmont box top Fox body. It was a factory 302 4-speed, now a roller 302. 302 5-speed with the 8.8 rear. It's a rear Eurosport model Zephyr. Interesting. So where's that car located? Is that in Europe, or where's that car at? Like a Fairmont box top Fox body. I have not heard that term before. Fairmont box top Fox body. It's quite a mouthful. Okay. Yeah, we kind of figured it out. Kind of. It's getting warmer. Fred Nurk, g'day. G'day. Good to have you here, man. Robert Hirschfield. Hi, Kiwi. How you doing, man? Brad Hudson, Mercury Zephyr. Okay, so there was a Ford Zephyr, a Mercury Zephyr, and a Lincoln Zephyr. Haven't heard of the Mercury Zephyr. Interesting. When were they made? All right. There you go. Wait for here we go. Here's an answer. Fred Nurk. Sorry, I'm late typing one hand and what? Wow. Okay. Looks like you're typing one hand tied behind your back. Um, One hand in hospital. Is that what you're trying to say? Brad Hudson, never a Ford. Zephyr was from 79 to 83, I think. Uh, no, I have to disagree with you, Brad. Zephyr was definitely a Ford from the 50s right through the 60s and into the early 70s. They had the Ford Zephyr Mark 1, 2, 3. Oh, you can't see my hand. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The Mark Twos were like in the 60s, like I think 59 to about 63, 4, something like that. And then they had the Mark Three. The Mark One was not a terribly pretty car, but they were an English-made Ford. Yeah, Stray Bullet, a plethora of Zephyrs. Yeah, Mercury Zephyr was a Fox body. Okay. Yeah, I've seen that Mercury. What was that called? Mercury. They had a Mercury Fox body that had like factory flared fenders on it, those box flares, uh, which I think was a huge improvement on the conventional Fox body. Those they had like the BMW M3 style fender flares on them. Capri. They were a Mercury Capri, I think they were. Um, but it was looked just side on. It looked just like a regular Fox body until you looked kind of lengthways down it. You could see the fender flares just kind of Coke bottling it a little bit. End of time. My pick is the rear of the car. Yep, Mercury and out here in Canada. Okay. Good stuff. Sorry, it's a 79 Trans Am with the stubborn. 79 Trans Am. With the stubborn axle bearing. Tried a repair bearing, didn't stop the slight rumble noise. So bought new axle and bearings, but the passenger side repair bearing is not budging. Okay. Well, a three-prong puller is not going to pull a half shaft out. 79 Trans Am. Three-prong puller is not going to pull that out. I don't know whether I'm missing something here or not. Brad Hudson. Okay, Kiwi. I was not including the European car. Sorry, man. I wasn't didn't mean to sound harsh on you. I really wasn't trying to be. But a lot of people here in the States have not, never seen or come across the English Zephyrs. So you don't know what you don't know. Yeah, good stuff. I'm trying to figure out what you're trying to do there. You kind of got me a little bamboozled there. A 79. I thought you said 79 Trans Am, but that's probably a C clip. Yeah, none of this is really adding up. I thought they were. It might be a 10 bolt in the back of a Trans Am, I guess. So assuming it's not a C clip rear, and you should just need a slide hammer to get it out. Or is that what you mean by a three-prong pulley? You've got a slide hammer bolted to the three lugs, and you're trying to yank it out like that. That's about all you can do is get a decent-sized slide hammer and just wail on it, and it should pull out of the housing. It should. Robert Hirschfield, Zephyr's brother to the Fairmont. Okay. WTI 70. Are you still friends with Uncle Tony? I haven't seen Uncle Tony in probably close to a year, mate. So that probably answers that question. Brad Hudson, the Mercury Zephyr Fox body fastback was called a Z7. Okay, did not know that. Johnny C, like Buff Del Campo's car. Okay. Good stuff. When are you back in New Zealand? Oh gosh, it won't be any time real soon, but unfortunately, Yeah, there's probably a European trip coming up before heading back to New Zealand. To be honest, um, it would be nice to wish it was a little closer, but it's a hellacious journey. And last time we went, like I actually timed the trip back, and from leaving where we were staying to like jumping in the car, leaving to pulling into the driveway at my house here, pulling into the garage was 27 hours. So yeah, it's a long journey. So yeah, it's not like you can just go, yeah, let's go next week. It's a big deal, Um, Wish it wasn't, but it is what it is. I'd like to be back every year. Like it'd be cool to come back for the beach hop and go and be part of the beach hop. Because I know it would be huge YouTube stuff. Getting some good footage of the beach hop. Yeah, that's an amazing event, but yeah, it's just not my reality at the moment. Long Island Mopars, honest car reviews. Any car you get your hands on, new, used, restored junk, etc. You want to kind of try and do that now to some degree. Sometimes you can't be too harsh on a customer's car, but try and be as honest as I can. So yeah, I'm certainly going to be doing a review like that on this Hemi-powered Ford. I'm very interested to see what that's going to look like. Yeah. Andy Nickel, my older bro caught hell from a neighbour for going too fast by his house. Smartass got out and pushed it past the house after that. Mate, I wouldn't expend that much energy. Um, yeah, some people do get a little bit agitated about blasting past their house. The public road is just that, it's public road, but yeah, there's got to be a little bit of respect for your neighbours too, as well. I guess it's a balance, isn't it? Brad Hudson, you weren't harsh at all. I'm in Canada. Okay, cool. Well, that's good. Um, Volfly, it is a salmon dinner tonight. Yep, use the torch to caramelize the brown sugar glaze spices on top. Always freaks the dog out when he hears the propane torch. Oh, good lord. Oh, well, at least it was protein, not map gas, I suppose. Yeah, you would have bloody charcoaled it. Yeah, why not use a protein? I mean, that will definitely have enough BTUs to caramelize a bit of brown sugar. But yeah, why not? What the heck? Good stuff. Yes, that's what I mean. Cheers. Maybe I need a heavier slide hammer. Yeah. Yeah. I would say that's yeah, it's obviously got in there. It's a little bit tight, which may be why you're getting a rumble. But yeah. They can be stuck in there pretty well, because I can remember the days using a cinder block and a piece of chain wrapped around an axle and just swinging the cinder block for all I was worth, trying to get an axle out. Like me and a buddy hanging onto both sides of a cinder block and just swinging the hell out of it on a piece of chain. Yeah, the things you do when you don't have the nice tools. It worked though. It worked. Oh, here we go. Paul Funk, late 70s Fairmont and Zephyr had horn button on the turn signal switch. You had to depress it to blow the horn. Yeah, that's a kind of quite a few European cars were like that too. Kiwi Mars, Mrs. Kiwi's in the room, in the house, shall we say. I'm catching up on everyone's comments and have questions for a friend. All right, okay. If the Zephyr Fox body is in Europe, okay, she's left that there. We should get one in Europe. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, who knows? End of time. I also drive a Z7 every day, but my black one is box top body style, so it's Fairmont body style. Huh. Josh Homan, that's an odd place for a horn button. Yeah, it's not the first time I've heard of it, and I've driven multiple cars with that setup on them. Yeah, you just literally push the end of your turn signal. Mark, mark. Once you just have to get to that stage where you're not wondering where it is. You just kind of get used to it, and when you feel the urge to abuse someone, you can just wham on the end of it. Yeah. The dude, Mrs. Kiwi, don't let him forget about Spring Carlisle. There you go. Uh, Granny's Junk, does Marge have an 8 3/4 diff, and how do they stack up against the newer ones? Marge does have an 8 3/4 diff. I believe, like the pumpkin part of it is pretty much identical to the later ones, but it's just the half shafts that are a pain in the butt with that Morse taper and the Kiwi, where it's almost impossible to get the drums off. Yeah, those are a pain, and a lot of people have actually replaced, um, that style of 8 3/4 with the later model with the removable drums, just to get away from that taper. Like Mopar had their own puller for pulling those off, and it was a super heavy duty puller, and they're hard, very hard to get the drums off, very hard. And a lot of those half shafts have been destroyed with trying to get the drums off. They freeze on there so good. And one tipper guy did give me a Mopar guy was tried but not too hard with a puller to get the drum off those early 8 3/4 with that Morse taper. And if that's not coming off, loosen the main nut like a turn, and pin it again because they have a split pin through them, and drive it around a little bit, drive it around for a while, and that loading, that cornering loads, will actually pop the taper loose. When they let go, they pop, um, and that's apparently a good way of doing it. You can't drive too far because you'll tear up the taper. Like you need to. You need to be close to home. Like don't drive 2 hours with that nut loose, and then be 2 hours away when it pops, and then have to try and get back. You need to stay close to home, and when it pops, whip it home and take the drum off, service the brakes, and away you go. Volfly, the centrifugal oil filter looks like it requires 60 psi to operate properly, according to instructions. Drat, I have to run an external oil pump to use it. Maybe I can use it for the trans. Interesting. Poor Funk. I wish we could trade Mexico for New Zealand. There you go. Oh, that's an interesting concept, isn't it? Yeah, we could call it the Gulf of New Zealand then, couldn't we? Instead of the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of America. Oh, hang on. We're getting into politics. We don't want to do that. Pizza is good. Pizza is our friend. Yes, exactly. Andy Nickel, the old 55 would walk slowly in first gear by itself, so it only looked like he was pushing. Okay, I get it. That's funny. Did he get any reaction from the neighbour that growled him? Oh, that's pretty funny. Graydon Jones, don't forget the British main Zephyr for Ford in the 60s, ending in 71, I believe. Yeah, I did mention that, but yeah, I think the Mark 1 started in the 50s, didn't they? Weren't they like mid 50s, like 55ish for the Mark 1? I'd have to Google to be sure on that, but I'm sure the Mark 1 started in like mid 50s. And when you look at the Mark 1 Zephyr, it definitely looks like a 50s car. Stray bullet. I don't like the high beams being on the turn signal stalk, much less the horn button. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I much prefer the floor mounted, the little button on the floor like the golden oldies have. I think that's a much better idea. You don't have to take your hands off the steering wheel. It's just you just tow it high and low. But of course, the very modern cars now, they do it for you. You don't have to go high or low beam. The car just decides for you. Um, Kiwi Mars message retracted. There you go. And John, I have to find out what that was later on. John Giddings, British Leyland Triumphs had horn buttons on the indicator stalk. Yeah, that's probably right. It's I know I've driven a few vehicles with it like that. So yeah, had a Triumph 2000 once upon a time in a very 40 years ago or more. Kiwi Mars, rest of the question that got cut off. Would you go there to do a video on it? Asking for a friend. Yeah, I'd go there to do a video on it, sure. I'd go there to do a video on a lot of cars. I'd go to Europe. I think it wouldn't. It would go over well here. I really do. I think I can speak for a lot of you car guys out there that you're, you know, it's not just all about American cars. I think most of you guys would be interested in some of the weird stuff they have, or what we'd call weird stuff over in Europe, some of the odd stuff. They've got some really neat stuff over there. Kiwi Mars, the dude. I'll try, but he's difficult to control. It's like herding cats. Oh, well, that's charming, isn't it? See, she's down in Florida at the moment, so she's a long way away, so she's quite brave. It's all easy to be brave behind the keyboard, isn't it? I can see that with her. That probably is a little bit like trying to herd cats for her at times. I can see that. Andy Nicol, actually, the neighbour laughed. Well, good. At least he had a sense of humour. That's cool. End of time, I can hit the horn with my knee. Okay. Well, that's a very handy thing to be able to do, I guess. Beagle Bob, you've almost got the accent for some of the countries. Well, yeah, that's right. That's right. Beagle Bob, which countries in particular would you go to see? I don't remember seeing much interesting stuff in Norway or France. I would have to do a little bit of research on that. I know Sweden is very big in their American car culture, but that's just more of the same, really. That's just the majority of the content we have here just transported to a different country. So what I would like to do is bring video the European hot rods. Hopefully something that we've not seen before. Like to go to Sweden and do a video on a 59 Impala is not that different than doing a video on a 59 Impala here in Franklin. They might have done it slightly differently, but I would rather like see a Volvo hot rod or some of their old stuff. There's a guy on YouTube, an American guy who's not that far. I think he's down Chattanooga way. John Ludwig is his name. His Ludwig's Garage is his channel. And like he's got a really old Auto Union, a 1961 or 1960 Auto Union, and it's like a baby 57 T-Bird. Loosely speaking, don't quote me on that. There's shades of it. Shall we say? and yeah, I believe there's like half a dozen in the country in America. Uh, but that's a cool car. He's slammed it like he's a real low rider boy, and all the cars he builds are like super low, like dragging the rockers on the ground, low. And he's got this little Auto Union. Now, Auto Union, if you don't know, is the predecessor to the Audi. Before they became Audi and they had the four rings, interlocking rings like Audi do. It's just before that time period. So, but little two door post, I think it is. Little fins on the back, like the 57 T-Bird had. Um, really cool car. I saw it, thought, man, if I could get my hands on one of those, I would love to have one of them. Just because it's so different. Like, the only one I've ever seen is on his video. And, not many people have, living in America, have ever seen one in the flesh. I'm fairly confident saying that. So that's the sort of stuff I'd like to bring, on YouTube. So, yes, Kiwi Mars, let's go to Europe and make a video on a 1960 Auto Union and a few others. Now, where are we up to here? So, yeah, it's but the hot rodding scene is big in Sweden. Not sure about Switzerland. France has a little bit going on. I do remember seeing a couple of last time we were in France, which was 3-4 years ago. There was a couple of classic car places that we saw that had the European classics in there, as well as a bunch of American classic stuff as well. And I know England is a lot of American cars and hot rodding in England. So yeah, there's places to go, things to see for sure. Riemann cable. Don't try to whack that knee sideways. Touch much. Ouch. Yeah, that could hurt. Yeah. John Giddens, when in New Zealand, have you ever driven a Trekker? No, I have not driven a Trekker. I have driven the old Skoda, which is what the Trekker had for mechanicals. And they were just a handling nightmare. One of the most tail-happy cars I've ever had the pleasure, shall we say, of driving. Very, very tail happy car. Rear engine, rear, the whole of the engine hanging over the back, behind the back axle, 4 cylinders long. And yeah, very, very tail happy. But yeah, the Trekker, they were a lot higher off the ground than a Skoda. So yeah, I imagine they handled pretty horrifically, but then they were built as a farm vehicle. Trekker was, if you guys, that don't know, Trekker looked a little bit, it was based loosely on the early Land Rover Defender, the early 60s Land Rovers. Very, very boxy, very, agricultural kind of, just body panels pot riveted on, stuff like that. But built primarily as a farmer's vehicle to, this is before they had side-by-sides and stuff like that. It was a very, very cheap vehicle, very utilitarian, and weren't a great success, but they were about the only car ever that was ever completely assembled, other than a few like sport kit type cars, but ever one and only, I believe, like real true production car that was completely made and assembled in New Zealand. Riemann cable, old Mopars are all over. Yeah, a lot of Mopars in New Zealand. Right through the mid-60s, they got a fair share of Mopars, all 4-door sedans, all 4-door sedans. Yeah. Stray bullet. I used to have a neighbour who would jump in his truck and chase down the speeders to yell at them. Yeah, some people get a kick out of doing that. Volflow. Maybe I can hook a power steering pump to the centrifugal oil filter, but I worry about seal swelling. Oh, you got too much spare time on your hand, Volflow. You got way too much spare time. Oh, be right back. Salmon is ready. Fair enough, mate. Snow Crusher, Canada. How's the fastback cougar progressing? It is not. It has gone away for a rest. For the owner to recoup some, not recoup, but to regather his finances, as he had two other expensive projects going, Ford Lightning trucks, and so that went away for a little break, and I'm not quite sure when that's going to be coming back. End of time. Where'd you go? There. Cortina would be a cool one to see. Yeah, those are very, very popular in England because they're an English car. Like we do tend to love our own a little. It's like Australia and New Zealand love their Holdens and Valiants and Falcons. It's what we grew up with, and it's what the English grew up with their Cortinas. And it's what. That they have a place in your heart and your memories, and So, but the Cortina was those Mark I, Mark II Cortinas. They were, arguably, some of the best cars ever built. And I'm talking worldwide too. When I say that, the Ford Cortina, they made a tremendous amount of them. They were very simple and good handling little cars. They were just a great little car that Ford really, I don't believe realised, when they were drawing it on paper, I don't think they realised quite how good it was going to be, but they just got it right, and they were tremendous little cars. They made a huge amount of them. They covered colossal amounts of miles. They got England and Europe mobile. Those cars were huge. Granddad's Junk. Would you guys enjoy Old English Project? My wife has a 37 Morris 14. It's a 6-cylinder. SV. What's the SV stand for? 37 Morris 14. What I liked about cars like that, the Morris 14 and the Morris 8, and there was a few others like that. And the Morris 14, now correct me if I'm wrong, Granddad's Junk, but that 14 stood for the horsepower, right? I know on the Morris 8, that the Morris 8 was 8 horsepower. I've installed starter motors that are approaching 8 horsepower, but that was a production car back in the day. But a Morris 14 6-cylinder, that would have been. I bet you that was 14 horsepower was the rating on it. I mean, I think people would enjoy that because they haven't seen it, and I think most of us car guys can appreciate a car, even if necessarily we don't want to rush out and buy one. But I always find it interesting to see something I haven't seen before, and just go, okay, well that's, you can get, that's really cool. That would have been cool if they'd made a 2-door. That would have been cool if it was a bit something, but it's always interesting to see something new. I mean, it's hard to get that excited over, a 57 Chevy like we've all here in the States, and New Zealand and Australia for that matter. But we've all seen a 57 Chevy. There's nothing that exciting or new or like whoa about it. But when we see something we've not seen before, it's always cool. So, let's see your wife's 37 Morris 14. It's probably not going to set YouTube alight, but there'll be some interest in it for sure, yeah. Riemann Cable, our World of Wheels is on this weekend in Winnipeg. Oh, cool. Stray Bullet, we call those tail-heavy cars ass happy. There you go. Ass happy. It was a fair description. Beagle Bob, a bit of a crazy idea of mine. I'd love to see some custom retro style body panels on a more modern car, like tail fins and vertical headlights and such, put on a Crown Vic. Yeah, that's interesting, and I've seen it done a little bit. It can be a tricky one to pull off. The shapes it's hard to kind of bury that moderner shape, even when you fit it under a lot of early style kind of features. It can work sometimes and not others. But done right, it can look pretty cool. Andy Nicol, there's a guy in Germany that restores BMWs that's quite good. He recently rebuilt V12, plus he's a bit of a nut, so there's me, M539. So there's that. So, yeah. Well, yeah, I think anyone who's living and eat and sleep in cars is a little bit of a nut. I know my wife thinks I am, so there you go. Yeah, I like some of those old Beamers and old Mercs and stuff like that. They can be, some of them can look pretty cool. Riemann Cable, BMW parts can be very pricey. Yeah, they can. Have you bought any NOS old American parts lately? That Challenger that we just did, that has a TA only exhaust manifold on the driver's side. It's a long, it's a special casting made just for the TAs, and it kind of a cast iron manifold that came out because it points down, and then it came up and over the steering box, left hand side, and to try and help it breathe a bit better, and it had a special exhaust manifold gasket that was doubled as a shield for the spark plugs and wires, and it was TA only. Now, we actually managed to reuse the one that came off it because it is just a single steel shim gasket, and it extends up and it's about that wide from top to bottom, so like 6 inches from the bottom of where the manifold, the exhaust ports are, to the top where it's also this heat shield for the spark plug. Now, I was a bit worried we were going to need to replace it, and it needed to be there because that manifold is so big and so close to the plug wires and spark plug boots that it melts it. So it has to have it. And I actually managed to track one down, or guy who's got like a few of them, was what I was told. He has a few of them. That gasket, the one side, $600, and it's a tin shim gasket. BMW parts can be very pricey. Yeah, try buying an exhaust manifold gasket for a 70 Challenger TA. $600. John Giddings, Ford Cortina 4.1 would be cool to see. Now, they did put the Falcon 6 in some Cortinas, didn't they? The Mark, in Australia, they put them in the Mark 4 Cortinas, I think it was. Might have been Mark 3. I think it was Mark 4. They actually shoehorned in the Falcon 4.1 6-cylinder into them. And that, I imagine, is a pretty desirable car. They weren't particularly desirable in the day. They had the big car engine, but they weren't really a big car, and it didn't really catch on. But I bet you today that's a valuable car in Australia. But yeah, John, let me know if I've got that Mark III, Mark IV right on that. That's my memory's a little grey on that one. Stray Bullet, it's too bad that so many British cars of that era had such bad rust problems. Yeah, well, because England, they used a lot of salt on the roads, and England is such a small island. you were never that far from the coast, and like there was always a lot of salt around, and they had very cold winters, snowy winters. So yeah, pretty much. There's no part of England that's a desert state like here. Like even when they were loading up Detroit with salt and places like that, there was still Nevada and Arizona that were deserts, but yeah, no deserts in England. The whole place, when it snowed in England, the whole place was white. So you had snow everywhere. So nobody's car got spared from the salt. So yeah, they did have some bad rust issues. Granddad's junk side valve. Yes, you're right. It stands for horsepower. Crazy, eh? Imagine advertising 14 horsepower as like woo, like that's awesome. 14 horsepower, like. Just makes me smile. It's kind almost laughable, but it's not actually funny. But makes me smile nonetheless. That was a thing to like put on the car's resume, was that it was putting out a thumping 14 horse. Josh Homan, many foreign cars understated their horsepower ratings to reduce their taxes. Well, there's probably some truth to that too. But, it's not like it was 214 and they said it was 14. It might have been 18, or 25 or something like that. But, you're probably right. They probably did, was on the low side, but they were not powerhouses. Driveway of Misfits, Mr. Freemesser. How are you, sir? Good to have you here. You've left your run a little bit late, bud, so you better start commenting. Brad Hudson, BMW stands for Big Money Wanted. Well, yeah. There's always acronyms, isn't there? Volfly, the worst thing at a car show is when the owner didn't do any work on their own vehicle. You can't ask, how did you do that? Poses can ruin a good car show. Yeah, yep. There's some truth to that. That mentality of, if you didn't build it yourself, it's not really yours. And there's an element of truth to that. But there's some people out there that are just really smart, have made a lot of money, but don't have a clue about cars. But it doesn't stop them, loving the cars. I mean, people love artwork. A painting by Van Gogh or someone like that. They can't paint. They're not an artist, but they still love the artwork. So it's interesting. They don't get knocked quite the same. If you buy a $100,000 piece of artwork, people don't go, "Oh, you didn't paint it." But with cars, I think sometimes we can be a bit harsh. If someone's willing to lay down their hard-earned money and bring back a car that was sitting in a field somewhere, we should possibly say, "Hey, thanks for doing that." That's a different way of looking at it, I mean, it is nice to be able to talk with someone and hear how they've done what they've done. I get that too. Hang on. Wow, we're getting lots of comments. But where are we here? Kiwi, Brad Hudson, what's the paint code on that Challenger TA? Actually, I don't know. I haven't looked. It's a factory color. That much I do know. But what the code is, I'm not sure. But I do know that car will have the factory correct color on it. Driveway of Misfits, Granddad's junk. I was unavoidably detained. How's things down there in Rataland? Oh, there you go. Driveway of Misfits, BMW broke my wallet. Yeah, that's a good one. It is. Stray Bullet. I didn't realise they got a lot of snow in England. I thought they just got a lot of rain and fog. Oh no, they get a fair bit of snow too, but and the further north that you go, the worse it is. So it's a little bit, a little bit like here. You get close to Canada, there's more snow. You get close to South America, there's less snow. So it's a little bit like that, but they get a fair bit of snow. Riemann Cable, my buddy's cousin had a 340 TA Challenger back in 74. His was a 70 model year. Yep, that's exactly the same year as the one we've just had in the shop. And fabulous car. Successful racing car too. Like they made them to race. The TA was stood for the Trans Am series, and they did well. Barracuda, hey, welcome along, bud. Good to have you here. You are a little late. We've got 4 minutes to go, but hey, better late than never, huh? Right. Right, okay, yep, just trying to catch up here. Stray Bullet, you can't build a Bugatti. Well, no. John Giddings, Aussie assembled on Trade Me for 21,000, Mark IV 77 Ford Cortina, metallic brown auto with 300,000 Ks, says owner since 84. So that's the 6-cylinder one, John. $21,000. That doesn't seem too bad. That doesn't seem too bad. Riemann Cable, also a special exhaust manifold was the rear V code 446 barrel Sport Fury. Yeah, I'll bet that did have a special manifold on it. GT. Cut to the chase. A mate calls that color estrogen blue. Oh dear. Brad Hudson. Bad Chad is building a Bugatti out of an old Volvo. Yeah, okay. God, the stuff he builds is ugly, in my opinion. Riemann Cable, driver's side over the steering box and stuff, exhaust manifold. Sport Fury GT. Yeah, they cast up some interesting looking exhaust manifolds back in the day. Granddad's junk. John, that's a good price for a 4.1 Cortina, very rare. That's what I was thinking. 21K didn't seem too bad. So, and I'm like way out of the picture on that. So, but that just didn't seem like that much money. Laurel Flynn, hey, good to see you. Haven't seen you in here for a little while, I don't think. 3 o'clock in the afternoon here, Kiwi, late night for you. Beach hop next week. Yes, beach hop. I've heard about that. Hopefully, my brother-in-law is supposed to be taking my Mustang down there, or my dad's Mustang down there. So if you're down there, keep a lookout for him. Adam's his name. Driving the blue convertible Mustang. In theory, he should be anyway. Yeah. Johnny C. People always love seeing original owners with cars. They just bought them and had them. The good sense to keep them. You're right. The hobby can be too critical at times. Yeah, it's we wouldn't get to see some of these Great 8 cars and it's some of these $1 million cars if it wasn't for the people that just wrote the checks. They are something to behold, some of those $1 million cars. They really are. Do I want one? Not necessarily, no. Would I want to build one? No. I really wouldn't. But they're still cool to see. The dude, get your official Kiwi merch. Thank you, dude, for plugging that. Yes, email me directly. Get yourself some shirts. It's summer coming up. You're going to need something to wear to the car shows. You got to look your best when you go to the car show. So the best way to look good is one of my T-shirts. Of course. Uh, Volfly. I admit, simply admiring the car is a valid thing. I was probably a bit harsh earlier. I just know one of these rich guys who buys the worst restored vehicles that I have to fix from time to time. Yeah, I mean, there's a yin and a yang to everything in there, Volfly. So yeah, there's a buddy of mine works for a guy like that, a collector here in Nashville, and they go to these. These online auctions and have plenty to drink and bring back some shitty cars, and he has to try and fix them, and they pay way too much for them, and he's just playing with excess money that he's got, and he likes to go and be seen at these places and likes to be seen to be buying lots of cars, and that does. Yeah, that's not always that palatable, is it? I get it too. But like I say, there's a yin and a yang to it as well. I mean, George Poteet, he's responsible for building a lot of famous cars. And as a buddy of mine once said, the thing with George Poteet is he has $12 less than God, so he can just write the check. I'm not quite sure the accountant that came up with $12 less than God, but made me laugh. So hey. Just about gone. So is our time. We're actually over time. We are into 2 hours and 2 minutes. So yeah, it's been a busy night. We've had lots to talk about. We didn't go too crazy on our subjects. We talked a lot about cars. So you just never know quite what the night's going to bring, do you? Beagle Bob, it would be nice if diesel emissions were lifted enough to get some small diesel engines for passenger cars. Yeah, it would be. It would be. That's a big thing in Europe. A lot of diesels in Europe, and America's not really buying into it. And I guess that's the EPA. John Giddens, yes, 4.1 from the Blenheim area. Okay, that'd be a great car. I would. Yeah, I would. I'd look at something like that for 20 grand. It's not a huge investment anymore, is it? 20 grand, you just don't get that much for it. And that is a rare car and should hold its money. The dude, Bad Chad, should change his name to Bad Dad with the way he treats his son on camera. I don't watch his videos, but that's not cool if that's what he does. Yeah, that's not cool. Yeah, look at Meekum Auto Auctions. Yeah, there's a lot of pissing contests at those Meekum type auto auctions. Who's spending the most money? Garth Harris, Kiwi. Good evening. Are A bodies getting more sought after in the USA as a cheaper collector daily drive at all? Yeah, to a degree. Yeah. But they're really not getting the kind of love they should, in my opinion. The early Barracudas, the A-body Barracudas, should be getting more money than they are. Like the Dodge Swingers, stuff like that, should be getting more money than they are. But if you want to get in and you want a good price, then it's a pretty good option. It's a pretty good option. A 340 or even just a 340s are getting a bit hard to find, but a 360, which is just a bolt-in into an A-body, and you've got a quick little car. And you can do that pretty darn cheaply. So it's a very good option. Fly, I hate watching the Meekum auto auctions. Look at those yo-yos. Yeah. Barracuda, do another hour. Mate, I can't. I got to get up in the morning. It's going strong. I mean, the live's going well tonight. Driveway misfeed. Someone refill Kiwi's glass and keeps going. Mate, if I have too much more to drink, I'll just go face down on the keyboard. So, Yeah, good thinking, Laurel Flynn. Guys, I'm going to have to go. I've got to get some shut eye. I'll be up crack of dawn again in the morning trying to get this Falcon going, get the GDO in the door, and this Hemi-powered Ford F100. So look out for those videos coming your way, hopefully all three in the next week. So, so keep an eye on them. I think they'll all be good videos. Like and share and do all that stuff because it helps the videos, it helps the algorithm. Buy some merch, buy some t-shirts. Large Marge will appreciate it. Kiwi Kev, it'll boost his ego up a little bit with some. You guys buy some of his t-shirts. So but other than that, thanks everyone for joining in. As always, a great night. I enjoy all your input and the things you have to say. And another great night. So you guys have a good week. Get out there, work on your cars. It's warming up. Get yourselves ready for some car shows and go and have some fun. All right, guys. I'll see you next week. Have a great one. Take it easy.